or you're overthinking, or you're pulling back, or you're panicking, or you're trying to regain control of something that suddenly feels uncertain and scary, triggering. And in that moment, you're not just responding to what's happening at the time, right then and there. You are responding to what it reminds you of. Hi, my friend. Welcome to the Bounce Back Black Woman podcast. I'm Dell, and I've overcome some of the most devastating heartbreaks I could ever have imagined. Do you find yourself stuck in sadness after a broken heart, asking God, why me? Well, I'm here to help women just like you heal and build the resilience to overcome life's greatest hurts. If you long for joy and confidence again, this podcast is for you. So grab your headphones and those heartbreaks. Let's talk. Hey there, my friend, and welcome back to Bounce Back Black Woman. We've been having a couple of powerful conversations over the past few episodes about attachment styles and how they shape the way that we show up in our relationships, particularly our romantic relationships. And in the last episode, you'll remember that we talked about what I call the anxious avoidant dance, which is really just understanding better the anxious avoidant dynamic and interplay. That push-pull cycle that can feel so intense and so confusing and sometimes so hurtful and so hard to break. But today we are shifting the focus from simple awareness and understanding to healing and changing. Because it's one thing to recognize your patterns, and it's an entirely different thing to take the initiative to begin changing them. So I want to pause for a moment and talk about what triggered actually feels like. Because when I say triggered, I don't just mean upset. People get upset. When I say triggered, I mean your thoughts start racing. Your emotions feel heightened, and your body might feel tense or unsettled. Your heart could start racing. And before you even realize it, you are reacting, or you are texting, firing off a response, or you're overthinking, or you're pulling back, or you're panicking, or you're trying to regain control of something that suddenly feels uncertain and scary, triggering. And in that moment, you're not just responding to what's happening at the time, right then and there. You are responding to what it reminds you of, what it is bringing back to you in the here and now. And here's the truth that I want you to hold on to, my friend. Your attachment style, it's not your identity. So stop labeling yourself with it. Your attachment style is a pattern. It's a learned way of responding. And patterns can change. Maybe not overnight, maybe not perfectly, but they can change intentionally. So I want to focus on what secure attachment actually means. Because when we talk about secure attachment, we need to slow down. And I think that because sometimes we misunderstand what secure attachment really is and what it really looks like. It is not perfection. Just because you have a secure attachment style, it doesn't mean that you never get triggered. It doesn't mean that you always say the right thing. And it doesn't mean that you never feel anxious or overwhelmed. Secure attachment is also definitely not being cold or detached or thinking, I don't need anybody. Secure is not shutting down your emotions. Secure is not pretending that you don't care when you probably do. Here is what secure really is. Secure is this: Saying to yourself, I can feel what I'm feeling without letting it control how I respond. You see, my friend, secure is steady. It's not silent. It's not distant. It's not hyper reactive. It's simply steady. And I want to slow this down even more because this part really matters. A lot of us think that once we make it too secure, we won't feel anxious anymore, or we won't overthink anymore, or we won't get triggered anymore. But that's not true. You can be secure and still sometimes feel anxious. You can be secure and still have moments where you want some reassurance. And you can be secure and still need space to process your emotions. The difference is not in what it is that you're feeling. The difference when you're secure is that you make different choices about what to do with the feelings that you feel. Secure is not about eliminating emotion from you. We're human. God gave us all of these wonderful, beautiful, complicated emotions. Secure is about learning how to stay grounded inside of your emotions. So I want to make this practical for you and help you see what it looks like in real time, because it's not just theory. It is how it shows up in real life. Let's say something shifts in your communication with your partner. And your first thought is, why haven't they responded? Did I do something wrong? Something feels off. That's the trigger. And your old pattern, and I say this from experience, might look like sending another message, constantly looking at your phone every 2 to 3 minutes to see if they're responding, and assigning meaning if no response comes. Overanalyzing the situation. Maybe I said it wrong. Maybe I should have used some emojis, hearts or smiles, so they knew I wasn't mad at them. Your old pattern might look like assuming the worst. Oh my gosh, something's happened to them. They're not responding. I better make sure they're okay. But here's how a more secure response begins to sound. Okay, I notice that I'm feeling anxious right now, but I don't have any new information. So let me give this space and not react out of the feelings I'm making up in my head. One of the phrases that helped me as I learned to tone down the anxious side of my attachment was to say, what's the story I'm telling myself in my head right now? And that phrase will do it every time because you're actually acknowledging that you're making it all up. No one has said anything. What's the story I'm telling myself in my head right now? And then tell yourself that story. And you might realize how ridiculous it sounds or how far-fetched it sounds. You might realize that you have no proof that that's the real story that's happening. So try it. Everything starts here. Awareness. That's the first shift. Awareness sounds like, I'm feeling anxious right now. I'm noticing that my body wants to shut down. I'm noticing that my blood pressure is going up. This feels familiar. And that moment of awareness, my friend, that is where the change begins. And now you have a new replacement. The story I'm telling myself is this. The second shift is actually regulation. Instead of reacting immediately, pause, breathe, give yourself a moment, walk away from your phone. Because not every feeling that you have or your body is telling you or the story you're making up needs an immediate action. And when you respond from a triggered place, you're usually responding from your past and your fears, not your present. The third shift is communication. So instead of over-explaining or shutting down or making assumptions, you will learn to express what's actually happening inside of you. And here's how that might sound. Hey, I'm feeling a little uncertain. Can we talk about this? Or, I need a moment to process, but I'll come back to this. I promise. That is how secure sounds. Not perfect, but honest. The fourth shift is to choose differently. And this is the part that we don't always talk about out loud, because this is where the healing actually becomes real. And you start feeling pretty proud of yourself for taking control of your thoughts and your attachment style. Because healing shows up in your choices. When you stop chasing inconsistency, when you stop holding on to confusion, when you stop avoiding what could actually be healthy, and you start choosing what feels steady, not just what feels intense. Because intensity is not the same as peace. And I want to say something here, because this is where the work gets real. Choosing differently doesn't always feel good at first. It definitely doesn't feel easy at first. Sometimes choosing differently feels like not sending the text, not chasing the conversation, volleying the ball right back to them, or not holding on to something that feels unclear. And my friend, I know that that can feel uncomfortable because you're used to doing what feels familiar, not necessarily what is healthy. And let's be honest, sometimes what's familiar is chaos, inconsistency, emotional ups and downs. So when something actually feels steady, it feels unfamiliar and scary. And unfamiliar can feel like, is this even right for me? But my friend, just because something feels unfamiliar does not mean that it's wrong. It might just mean that it's new. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This is hard. It's not easy because your old patterns are familiar. It's what you know. It's what you've done. It's what you've taught yourself calms you when it actually doesn't. So choosing differently feels uncomfortable at first. And here's where I want to say something that might actually set you free. Healing does not mean that you stop feeling triggered. We're human. We're going to feel triggered. And you will still have moments where your thoughts start to race, or your emotions start to rise, or your instincts kick in. The difference is you won't let that drive anymore. You're going to notice it, and you're going to name it, and then you're going to tell your thoughts, emotions, or instincts to have a seat and pause so that you can choose. Now, I want to give you a heads up. This is not something that you're going to fix overnight. There will be moments where you fall back into old patterns. You're going to start recognizing it, though. There will be moments where you react before you pause, and you may have to roll it back and apologize. There will be moments where you question yourself, but you'll have the answers now. And none of that means that you're failing. It means that you are becoming more aware and more steady. Awareness is the beginning of transformation. You're becoming somebody who doesn't chase clarity, who doesn't avoid connection, who doesn't confuse chaos with love, You're becoming someone who can stand in peace even when things feel uncertain. And my friend, that's powerful. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, Del, I hear this, but this feels hard, I want you to know something. You didn't learn your patterns overnight, and you're not going to unlearn them overnight either. But every single time that you pause instead of reacting, every single time you choose clarity over confusion, every single time you choose peace over pressure, you are rewiring your brain to show up differently. And that, my friend, matters, even if it feels small, even if it doesn't feel perfect. God didn't bring you this far for you to keep repeating cycles that break your heart. There is another way, and you are allowed to grow into it. So here are your journal prompts. Number 1, where do I notice myself reacting instead of responding? And number 2, what would a more secure version of me do in that very moment? My friend, this work is not about becoming somebody entirely new. It's about becoming more aware, more grounded, more aligned with the kind of love that you actually crave and deserve. And you're not doing it alone. You're learning, you're growing, and you're bouncing back. And as I always say, it's not just you. It's not just me. It's us. Well, that's it for today, my friend. I really hope this episode inspired, encouraged, or just plain comforted you. If so, please share it with a friend who might be struggling in her own healing journey. And if you take a moment to leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, you'll help other women find encouragement through their heartbreak. Remember that God is holding your hand along this journey, and guess what? I'm holding the other. Life is short, so bounce back, Black woman.